Let's discuss with Shan Wu, our legal analyst, who also, I should note, formerly represented Rick Gates, the now indicted Trump campaign official. Nice to have you here. So, Rosenstein doesn't do a lot of interviews. It's notable that he did this with the Wall Street Journal, with a largely conservative readership. We'll see how the president responds. Do you think it makes a dent, though, in the president's narrative that this is a witch hunt, at least among the president's supporters?
Oh, not at all. I don't think it'll change the president's narrative at all. I think it is quite fascinating that Rosenstein gave this interview at this time. I think it probably reflects his consciousness that his time could be limited, and at the very least, it's always a day-to-day situation. So I think he wanted to get out in front of the midterms and make this statement. It doesn't seem like it's particularly startling that his opinion would be that the investigation is justified and appropriate. I was struck by the language that it's the right result, which I don't know if he intended that, but it suggests that he kind of knows what the result is at this point. So I thought that was very intriguing.
Oh. That is interesting. There is talk, and again, like I always say, the Mueller investigation is a black box. We don't, it does not leak, so we don't know for sure. But there is talk of perhaps a preliminary report after the midterms, though there's also some expectation that other lines of inquiry will continue after that. But if the president were to fire after the midterms Rod Rosenstein, Jeff Sessions, with the intention of influencing the special counsel's investigation, wouldn't it be too late now? I mean, what would, if you put a friendly person in there to oversee this investigation now, what influence could they have?
I think the influence they would have is possibly how widely the report would be disseminated and just how much of it would be disseminated, because Mueller reports at the moment to the deputy AG. If it was a new AG, he might report directly to the AG, but it's that person who's supervising the investigation for the Justice Department, and they could put out very little in terms of the contents, or they could pretty much give it en masse to Congress and to the public. So I think that's strategically where Trump and his lawyers would want to control who's actually making that decision at that time.
Let me ask you about Don McGahn. White House counsel Don McGahn has walked out of the White House. He's done with his job there. He's being replaced by Pat Cipollone. And we've learned, of course, he and the president have had their differences on a host of issues, and significantly pertaining to this, he spoke to Mueller's team for something like 30 hours, right, over the last year or so. Now that he's no longer representing the interests of the White House, no longer in the White House, I don't know. Anything that you would think in terms of Mueller wanting to talk to him again? Does it open him up to say more now?
It's possible that Mueller could want to talk to him again, although, I was astounded when I heard how much time he'd spent with them. I suspect they pretty much covered everything from A to Z with him already, and most likely they're done, unless new leads develop that they have to follow. I do think that the privilege issue, in terms of his executive privilege, doesn't go directly to the president, would still be there. I mean, there could be an argument that he'd waived it, but I think if there was a sensitive issue, I think they would probably try to have him reassert that, because originally it just seems odd that he walked into that, and they did appear to waive it, but there's always a strong argument that you don't permanently waive a privilege like that.
Yeah.
Got it. Shan Wu, nice to have you. Thanks.